Ever notice how something that seems, like a random pop culture thing
Mm.
can suddenly become this like cultural litmus test?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what we're diving into today.
I like it.
Yeah. You're going to help me dive deep.
Let's do it.
We're talking, of course, Taylor Swift, politics,
Oh, yeah.
the internet,
Yeah.
and you guys sent this in. It's been all over, so thank you.
Yeah.
Um, this whole thing with Taylor Swift endorsing Kamala Harris,
Right.
there is so much to unpack here. So the quick version for anybody who like somehow missed it,
Yeah.
Swift used this phrase "childless cat lady" when she was, saying she was supporting Harris.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, people were already saying about her online.
Exactly.
So it's not like,
She didn't invent that.
no, she didn't invent the phrase, but the internet still had like a whole lot of thoughts about her using it.
Oh, yeah.
We saw everything from like cheering to just like tearing her apart online.
Yeah.
And even a certain, shall we say, Twitter happy former president
I know who you mean.
decided to kind of throw his 2 cents in, or his 2 tweets in,
Yeah.
however many characters he's allowed these days.
Right. Right.
But we're gonna circle back to that later.
Okay.
Because there's a whole other layer to his reaction
Okay.
that I don't think is immediately obvious.
Right.
Anyway, um, on the surface, this might seem like just another celebrity saying, vote for this person.
Yeah.
But something about this one just feels different. Do you agree with that?
You're absolutely right. And I think it's significant for a few reasons. Firstly, I mean, Taylor Swift isn't just a popular singer. She is a global phenomenon. Her fans they're everywhere, and her influence it's undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what makes this endorsement really noteworthy is that she's historically been very, very careful about voicing her political opinions at all.
Right.
So this break from that usual stance of hers, makes this a much bigger deal than, your average celebrity saying, go vote for this person.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really think of another example off the top of my head where she's like really come out,
It's pretty rare.
yeah, and said, this is who I support. So that in itself is interesting, that she kind of broke her own mold on that.
Mm-hmm.
But then, it felt like out of everything, the internet really kind of grabbed onto that childless cat lady comment.
Yes, definitely.
Was it empowering? Was it tone deaf? Like everybody seemed to have a very, very strong opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where things get really, really interesting from, I think, an analytical perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because this one phrase really sparked this huge conversation about how we view women in positions of power,
Mm-hmm.
particularly when they don't necessarily fit into those traditional societal expectations that we have.
So you're saying this is about more than just like Taylor Swift and her cats.
Oh, absolutely. This is tapping into a much, much larger conversation about gender roles, about expectations that we put on people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it. We've seen this throughout history, haven't we? I mean, women in leadership positions constantly facing criticism for things that, frankly, would be considered completely unremarkable if a man did them.
Right. Like what? Give me an example.
Oh, I mean, think about how Margaret Thatcher's voice was constantly scrutinized in the media,
Interesting.
or how Angela Merkel's wardrobe was always up for debate. These are things that we don't typically see with male leaders.
Yeah. Nobody's like critiquing what tie they're wearing on a daily basis.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's almost like there's this like unspoken rule book out there
Yes.
for how women in power are supposed to act.
Yes.
And if they deviate from it at all, it's like, ooh, let's comment on that.
And the language used to describe these women, right? That often reveals the underlying biases that are at play here. So I think the fact that Swift's comment, sparked such a strong reaction really shows just how relevant and, unfortunately, how prevalent these issues still are today.
Yeah. And speaking of strong reactions,
Yeah.
Can't really let this go. We gotta address the elephant, or should I say the tweet in the room.
Right.
You mentioned earlier that, the former president's reaction, while it might seem very straightforward on the surface,
Yes.
could have some hidden depths to it. What did you mean by that?
Well, yeah, because on the surface, it did seem like, the typical dismissive kind of response that we've unfortunately come to expect, right? But if we dig a little deeper, there might be a slightly different strategy at play. And I'm not saying it's, some sort of Machiavellian genius,
Sure.
but remember that whole concept of like controversy marketing,
Okay.
where sometimes even negative attention can be spun in a way to benefit a political campaign.
And for people who don't remember that phrase, like, give us like a really quick example of what that might look
Oh,
like.
sure. I mean, you can even think back to 2012 when Mitt Romney made that comment about binders full of women.
Oh, right, right, right.
It sparked outrage, it sparked a lot of debate and conversation.
It also, I mean, if nothing else, everybody was talking about it.
Exactly, and it kept him in the headlines. So it's a very common tactic in politics, capitalize on any opportunity to stay in the public consciousness.
So you're saying that by even engaging in this conversation, even if it was just, to make fun of it,
Yeah.
he might have actually been playing into this larger strategy of staying relevant, staying in the headlines.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly possible. And you have to think about the internet and social media have amplified this phenomenon to a degree that we've never seen before.
It's true. I mean, this is getting very meta, even for our deep dives. So for the average person, right? Most of us, we're not pop stars.
Right.
Most of us are not former presidents with, a Twitter account. Like, what does this all mean?
I That's such a great question. And I think what's fascinating about this is that this seemingly really isolated event, right? It's about a pop star, it's about a politician, and it's about a tweet.
All right.
But it actually reveals a lot about just the interconnected world that we live in now. The power and also the potential pitfalls, right,
Yeah.
of online influence, and how something that seems so trivial can set off this huge chain reaction of conversation and debate and really strong feelings on all sides.
It makes you realize that even if, you don't have a million followers, we're all still part of this very complex online ecosystem.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like what we say, what we share, who we're supporting online. It all kind of contributes to that bigger conversation. And in a way, I mean, that makes each of us a potential influencer, right?
I think that's exactly right. In the age of social media where everybody has a platform, whether it's big or small, it's still a platform. The line between just being a spectator and actually being a participant, that's becoming increasingly blurred. And I think, this whole Swift Harris Trump thing, that's just one very small example of how entertainment, politics, online discourse, they're all becoming so intertwined.
And how a single tweet can really just like ignite this conversation that's way bigger than itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. Talk about a deep dive. It makes you think twice about what you click on, what you share, even just like what you post when you're online.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely some food for thought, everybody.